Sheikess of the Morrison Temple of America 12. And some people are unaware, some are aware, that we do have female leadership in the MSTA. It's very important. How do we uplift fallen humanity in the MSTA? The picture says he's uplifting the female. So we have to uplift the woman. But Sister Dr. Temeaka Gray L is a Sheikess. So Sister, how did you become a Sheikess in the Morrison Temple of America?
Well, that's an interesting question, considering that my first thought was not to come to the Morrison Temple of America. I came and there was nothing that could be disputed. And then I studied and I studied and I studied on my own and by asking a lot of questions. But I was really selective about what I studied because there's a lot of information out there that you can find on YouTube channels and stuff that it's not us. You know, it's not us, but it's someone who is portraying that it might be us. And that studying and going through ceremonial things is why I'm where I am today.
Okay, so has that job as a Sheikess, how has that helped to change your life, change your household?
So it doesn't really feel like a job, number one. It's just something that you are. Like I remember thinking, and if you think about, I've been a part of, you know, Christian churches and things, and you're like, okay, the reverend this or the deacon that. And for me, it didn't feel as real. It just kind of felt like, okay, this is what you're supposed to ascribe to be, and I need to act a certain way. None of it is an act for me. It's basically, this is who I am. And you grow more and more into it as you grow spiritually and connecting with your higher self. My household, it kind of vibes with me. So if I'm having a bad day, my household has a whole bad day. And it's the most amazing thing. You feel like heaviness on your shoulders and all of a sudden you snapping and somebody else is snapping and none of it is that big of a deal. Well, as I've been progressing, you realize that, yeah, none of it really is that big of a deal. And it might be that something that would have like spurred an argument or the kids getting in trouble. Yeah, you kind of say something and then you move on, or you actually laugh at your new reaction based on what your reaction would have been previously.
Yeah, so it's a lot more to keeping your household in line than just, you know, what we believe as cleaning the house, cooking dinner, and those things. So we have to keep them spiritually in line. Mm-hmm. All right, keep them in line with their duties, keep them set to uplift, and also as we send them out in those doors to work, school, or these other places, they have to have something in them that makes them want to do good. So we have to prepare our children to go out into the world and to uplift, period.
And they still want to have fun. So you still have to have an element of fun to it. And since when I came in, some of my kids were older. We have this one, he's 11. And to say to him, do you really think that's what you should have done? Or like yesterday, for example, he didn't do something. And I said, you have to do it. And he got this look on his face. And I said, I don't like that look. You need to go outside and breathe. And he said, but I don't want to go outside and breathe. And I said, but why do you want to go outside and breathe? Is it because it's going to change the way that you feel? It's not going to change the way that I feel. I said, it's bad. He goes outside, he comes back in, and he's trying to hide this smirk that's on his face. Because it really did. The sun is shining, you feel the air. He connected with it. He couldn't come back in and feel the same way that he did before. And we can do that too as adults. We just have learned to think differently. Now it's time to unlearn and relearn.
There's words from Sheikess. Okay. Trained, came up through the ranks, sits a high office. I'm proud to have her as a Sheikess. All right. So hopefully someday I see some other sheiks out there, some divine ministers, people that are one day gonna guide us. The prophet said, out of the Sunday school come the guiders of the nation. But as I look out, the guys of the nation are sitting right here in the Sunday school. They're right there, the youngsters. They're going to have an understanding that you didn't have and you can't grasp, and you won't grasp. But they'll know what their job is. Islam? The second thing we had, anybody have any questions to the Sheikess? Any questions? Anything? She pretty.
Here come these jumping jacks.
She's thorough though. So she starts you, and that's part of being a professor, teacher in the home. She starts you from here, and she'll take you there. And you really can't lie and say you didn't know, because she's gonna give you step 1 through 10. So Islam, got a question over here.
How long she been a Sheik?
How long have you been a Sheikess?
It will be 2 years. Wow.
2 years as a Sheikess.
Yes. Wow, that went by fast. I guess that shows growth too. When your years start rolling by fast and it doesn't bother you and it's not as difficult. So like studying something now isn't as difficult, and I don't need to go to the little level.
2 years.
2 years.
That's good. So now we're going to move on. We've got our topic today, a couple of them. What's the second topic that you had there?
Love.
So, in your mind, why did you pick love as a topic? We were going to discuss that today.
I picked love as a topic because it's important that we have self-love and we understand the difference between love and hate. So we can have self-love, we can have self-hate. We can have self-love and love of others. We can have self-love and thinly veiled hate of others. We have to be sure that we are having universal love, and that love employs that we're looking at a person's spirit, that thing that is the same about somebody as it is in yourself. It doesn't have a look. It doesn't have a smell. It just simply is.
That's a whole lot. That's a mouthful. That's a whole mouthful. So the prophet gave us as the first principle, he said love. So why? So we have the 5 principles. So we have love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. All right. So we have the principle of love. So in our Quran, it's the Holy Quran, the MSTA, chapter 42 on page 53. In anything we do, we have to get a measure of it from our prophet. Our prophet was divinely prepared, all right, for this holy and divine movement. So, holy means set apart, divinely prepared means from Allah, right? So that's why it's a holy and divine movement. Page 53.
Page 53.
Yep. So we're dealing with love. So page 53, we go down to number 12. It says, the delights of love are ushered in by sighs, and they terminate in languishment and dejection. The objects that thou burnedest for nauseates with what is it?
Satiety.
Satiety. And no sooner hast thou possessed it, but thou art weary of its presence. So the delights of love are ushered in by sighs, and they terminate in languishment and dejection. The objects thou burnedest for nauseate thy with satiety. What's the word satiety?
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. So if you look it up in a dictionary or anything else, it deals with the fullness. It actually gives you a specific, which is different than the way they worded it, as a completeness and fullness. So when we deal with completeness and fullness, that's a little bit different spiritually than it is when you like eat or drink. When you eat or drink, you feel full. All right. Satiety deals with completeness and fullness in a different level. So this is given to us by the prophet. So it has to be more than just my cup is full. All right. It's a little bit different. That means you spiritually and everything is meshing. Everything's grooving. It all makes sense to what it's supposed to. Because some levels we don't have the understanding to understand. But we know from being here in this class and from being in there that we know that there's truth and there's falsehood. Okay? We know that there's ought and that there's not. And we know that man has higher self and a lower self. Okay? So those are things that we know. Those can't be, we can't argue and debate those. There's a man has a higher self and a lower self. So he goes on to say, it said, And no sooner hast thou possessed it, but thou art weary of its presence. So now you've struggled hard to possess something, and now, it's not that spectacular.
It just is.
It's just there.
There's a good feeling, and it's just there. We have just we are a society and a people that are always looking for something. We never accept what just is and how fulfilling that can actually be. Because sometimes, okay, I need to have this, I need to grow that, I need to make this for myself, well, sometimes if you sit in silence and just realize, this just is, I just am sitting here, and that feels wonderful. That's that fulfillment, because we aren't just, or that's that satisfaction, because that's true satisfaction. It's everything lined up in a way of satisfaction.
Islam, so we have to always be childlike. Are there things that still make you feel like a child? I'm not even gonna lie. I see a fire truck and I still say, yeah, I want to get on that ladder. I'm not even gonna lie. I can't, there's certain things that still in this day amaze you. All right. I've been to New York, I look at the buildings and I say, man, those are way up there. Who washes those windows?
Think about how a hug makes you feel. Just like, oh, that was nice. That just felt really good.
Right.
It's a hug.
Right.
Something so simple and basic. A hug. A hug, when I think about a hug, it makes me think, and I do women's health, it makes me think about the womb, because that was your first hug. So a hug can always take you back there to that feeling of safety and security.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Nothing else attached to it. It just is what it is. Yeah. It was for the right reasons. It was at the right moment, and it was needed. You fell off your bike. Your mom said, "You know what? You're gonna take care of that with a hug and a piece of this pie." I sure will. Oh, I feel good like I did last time I fell off the bike. That apple pie, boy, right when my knee was hurting. It just because it's the thought. All right, that everything's gonna be okay and everything's gonna be all right.
Exactly.
It says, "So shalt thou find in the end." Wait, let's not skip too far. It says 13. Join esteem to thy admiration, unite friendship with the love. So shalt thou find in the end content so absolute that it surpasseth raptures, tranquility more worth than ecstasy. What?
It just is. I don't need this big bang, because once you get this big bang, you're always looking for another big bang. Living in the moment is what was talked about last week. Living in the moment allows you to connect to, it just is.
It says, join esteem to thy admiration. So what's esteem? What do we place? Something we place in high esteem is what?
Look up to it.
You looked up to it.
Some other ideas?
Priority.
And esteem, yep. This is my esteemed colleague. Well, how is he esteemed? I don't know. It's a word that they just put together. And we look up to him. Usually they give that to you, esteemed colleague, because he's usually higher on you in the corporate ladder than somewhere else. So they don't call the janitor, here's my esteemed colleague. Hold on, put down that mop. Come over here. No, that's not, you don't hear that in that. You usually hear that in the corporate world, somebody that's at a level higher than what usually a pay scale high. All right. But we know spiritually, we're looking at that a little bit differently.
The etymology actually means to value and respect. So if you join value and respect with love, imagine what you get. It's mind-blowing.
So shalt thou find in the end content so absolute that it surpasseth raptures, tranquility more worth than ecstasy. Okay? So that tells you how to get it. All right? So you take your admiration, you take your esteemed colleagues, which are those that think like you, and you begin to develop friendships and go out and spread love, right? In a capacity that is just for no reason. I'm going to go take this over to him. Why? Because I just feel like he had a bad day and he needs it.
Just feel like doing it.
Not because I want to borrow his chainsaw to cut down the tree in my backyard, all right? I'm going to take this to him because he's been going through it, and nobody should go through it like that. And this will just give him the thought that don't they have those cards that say, just thinking about you, all right? So that puts that in the ether. Puts it in the ether. It scrolls across in the ether. So the good go over here, and then boom. And then now, because we all fast and pray and focus on the same thing, now I took him this, and this, didn't that used to be in the old neighborhoods? If somebody passed, all the neighbors go over there and take them a plate. Why? Just thinking about you. Why? I know when I was in that situation. All right? I was at my lowest low. And when you're in your lowest low, I want somebody to say, I don't want you to say the wrong thing to me. I just want you to be there. I know how it feels. No, you may not.
But you don't know how it feels for me necessarily. You just know that situation.
I just want you to know that you're my friend and you picked up the phone and you text me or you said, hey. All right? So that's what we want to do. It says, Allah hath given thee no good without its admixture of evil. But he hath given thee also the means of throwing off the evil from it. Did you catch that? So things have an evil and they have a good. All right? So man hasn't won anything that he hasn't fought his foe for. Some people say, oh, it just came easy to me. Don't buy that. Don't buy that. They better have had some internal struggles to be to where they're at today.
They probably didn't connect the dots. That what that struggle was. You know, it just came easy to me. For me, my education, it just came easy to me or for me. But it really didn't, because I still had to get up. I still had to go get it. I still had to figure out a schedule. I still had to read or whatever. So those were the challenges. But ultimately, in the grand scheme, it came easy to me. But it was both.
Makes sense. Down to number 15, it says, as joy is not without its alloy of pain, so neither is sorrow without its portion of pleasure. That seems like that's kind of backwards. Joy and pain, whatever else. Because that's mainly that's a growth point. That's something where you have to grow, to accept what you went through. That's one of the things you have to think about. I remember in my former job, we put together a whole warehouse. And they said, you know what, we're going to work 90 days straight. Okay? 12-hour days. Boy, it was rough. But when I got to the end and I looked up and I said, you know what, we did all this. We did all this. And there wasn't one thing. The building was empty, and we put the racks up, and we put the signage up, and we had people, and we were sweating, and we were just huddled up at lunchtime. Some of us didn't even eat at lunch. We just laid on it. We were just sitting there, and we were just tired. But then when we got done, I said, you know what? The one thing I knew that jumped out at me was, I can do it. Think about that. So you come through 12 hours a day times almost 90 days. At one point, we took a Sunday off, but we did all those hours, and I said, and I look back, and then you look back on it, and the struggle that you went through, now you embrace the struggle. Why? Because I did it.
I did this.
Now I know there's nothing I can't do. And if I don't do it, I'm making excuses at this point. Hey, can you help me lift this sofa? No, I really can't. Why? You know, I had to do this. So you can't help one person move their house, hold the stuff, but you were there doing this for 90 days. So we have to grasp that.
One of the things that my students say, they thank a professor or assistant professor for being a part of, helping them or whatever. And what I usually say is, you're welcome, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey. Because then you look back and you're like, wow, this person is this, and I was a part of that. And that's a satisfaction. Not that I assisted with it or encouraged them. It's simply that I was a part of it, and to see that transformation. but we have to pay attention to it or we'll miss it. The one thing that happens, and for any woman who's in here that has ever given birth to a child, it is very hard, it is very painful, and once that baby is here, it's just like, oh, look at my baby. And the pain and the struggle that you went through don't mean as much as look at my baby. Or the men who have children and have been around a woman when she is pregnant, it's painful for y'all, very painful for y'all. But then once it's over with, look at my baby. And that pain and that stress in those moments, or watching her deliver or whatever, go away. They just kind of fall away because this is that tangible thing. It's easy to do it with that tangible thing, but we have to learn how to do it with this. I just accomplished this. I just accomplished sitting here peacefully for 5 minutes and living in that moment.
Right. The number 15, still number 15 says, joy and grief, though unalike, are united. Our own choice only can give them to us entirely. Let me read that again. Joy and grief, though unalike, are united. How does that make sense? Joy and grief are in some way alike. Joy and grief, though unalike, are united. So they're different, but how can joy and grief be united?
I want somebody to answer.
Somebody got to give me a
Come
message on that. It's a lot more.
I think it's a way to gauge, like, you can't know you're happy without going through something. Like, you had everything at your disposal and never, struggled with nothing. How would you know you were struggling? I mean, how would you know what you had? You have to have one to know the other, or vice versa.
That's exactly right. That more study.
No studying.
Smart.
What?
So you have so you have to have the struggle to know that you're okay. Okay, so life has peaks and valleys. It goes up and it goes down. It's like a roller coaster. Up, down, 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 down.
But what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result.
So, if we do the same thing over and over again, wait, what? You read something here. You read, our own choice only can give them to us entirely. So, if I choose to do the same thing, exactly the same over and over again, it sounds like what this says is that I'm choosing the grief.
There it is. There it is.
So if I choose to do it differently, and the outcome is different, if I choose to think about it differently, then I can choose joy.
There it is. I didn't say it. It's in the book.
Okay.
So, he said, man was given one thing over every other animal that there was. And what was that thing that he was given? Anybody know? Man was given one thing over anything else. You got the answer back there? Go ahead. You can get an A on your paper. Go ahead. The brother pointed to his head and thought. That's correct. So man was given the ability to reason. So he can choose between this and this and this. So that was the only animal that was given that, or any species that was given the we have a chapter in here that talks about though the crocodile's spine is erect, he still has no understanding of what we do. Because that's the one thing that our spine is erect, and it links us one with Allah. Okay, that's the reason why you had that soft spot in your head. That's the cord that links you to Allah. Give you a little lesson on that. All right? That's why all of you got that soft spot in that head. Okay?
It's also why it's called the crowning chakra.
Crowning chakra. Crown chakra. So that little spot on your head will do some things as you begin to grow. It'll vibrate, it'll tingle, it'll give you your spidey sense.
And for some people, that might seem really, really strange. I'm going to tell you, every time I feel it, you have these moments where you're like, am I really feeling this? But I know I'm feeling this, but am I really feeling this? And that's perfectly normal.
Melancholy itself often giveth delight, and the extremity of joys are mingled with tears. The best things in the hands of a fool may be turned to his destruction, And out of the worst, the wise will find means of good. So blended is weakness in thy nature, O man, that thou hast no strength either to be good nor to be evil. There's a clarifying fact there. So blended is weakness in thy nature, O man, that thou hast no strength either to be good nor to be evil. So blended. So he didn't give you strength to say, I'm going to be good or I'm going to be straight evil. So that's the reason why countries go to war, people are arguing and they're fighting, but they don't have the strength to, because you cannot maintain one of those levels at its highest extreme too long.
You will burn yourself out.
Said don't raise it too high nor debase it. So you can't raise that energy too high and just be like this. So that's why you see in the community the people that use drugs and they say he was high. And then they keep using it and they keep using it and they keep using it to get high and get high and get higher and get higher. How high can you go? You can't go any higher.
And the research says that someone who uses drugs, the reason that they keep doing it is because they're looking for that sensation that they got when they first reached that high. You'll never have it again. It was your first. That's the only. That is that level.
So blended in the weakness in thy nature, O man, that thou hast not strength either to be good nor evil entirely. So you can't be good or bad entirely. So you're going to have a time where you're going to struggle with one or the other. So you hear from many years ago, and your goal is, I used to always tell people my goal is the one day when I check out, they're going to say that he left the earth and my good deeds outweighed my bad ones. That's what our goal has to be. One day, my good deeds will outweigh my bad ones. You're going to have bad deeds. You're going to have these things because you had those struggles. But we're going to make a point that I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to put aside some of those. And now because of reasoning, I'll make a conscious effort to go in a different direction. Let the good that is within thy reach content thee. The virtues are allotted to various stations. Seek not after impossibilities. So the virtues and things that you have, you can only go so high. So it's saying don't seek after something you can't get. All right. So what happens when you seek after something that you can't get? That's what they call the hamster wheel. So now you want something. You know, you watch that what is it? One of the bank commercials, and the ATM's still open, but she'll never get there, and she's running on the wheel. That's what's going to happen. You're going to be doing those things, and you're running on the wheel, and that's impossible. That's impossible. He said you're not going to reach the level of 100% either side of this in its entirety. Why? Because man has to have an internal struggle. He must know well his higher self and his lower self. What? You don't boot them both out. I'm no higher self or lower self today. I'm just neutral self. It's not in the book. It's not in the book. You can't find it. There's no neutral self.
Because the neutral self is clear. It's just clear.
The neutral self is that guy sleeping in the bed not doing nothing. Probably. So he ain't struggling.
He ain't, but he even having thoughts like, man, I should get up. Nah, I ain't gonna get up. So even that.
Yeah, he's still having a struggle.
Even that one.
It's always a struggle, even when you're not doing nothing. Wouldst thou at once have the liberality of the rich and the contentment of the poor? Shall the wife of thy bosom be despised because she showeth not the virtues of the widow? If thy father sink before thee in the divisions of thy country, can at once thy justice destroy him and thy duty save his life? If thou behold thy brother in the agonies of slow death, is it not a mercy to put a period to his life? And is it not also death to be his murderer? Truth is but one. Thy doubts are of thine own raising. Okay, so the truth is but one. Everybody get that? So there's not 15 truths. There's not 14 truths. There's not, it says there's only one truth. And it says the doubts. So the doubts has an S on the end, so it's plural. So there's many of them. Truth is but one. Doubts, there are many of them. So when we don't do things and we don't carry through with the things that we have, those are our doubts that we are raising. And we raise them with such aggressiveness that sometimes it outshadows the truth. And we say, which part did you hear? I heard this. That's the doubt part you heard. Why? Because there's many of them. So if you hear 15, 16, you can't do that. That won't happen. Nobody's done that. You'll fall. You'll hurt yourself. All those things are those doubts. But those aren't just the naysayers. You're your biggest naysayer in completing your job or your task or what Allah has called you to do. Right? You're your biggest naysayer. It's not them. Why? Tune them out. Don't call them. Don't pick up the phone. Your biggest critic is you.
So here's an example. If we are living through love and paying attention to that thing that is the same in all of us, and we find fault in something that someone else is doing, we are actually choosing to find that fault, and it's a thing that we don't like about ourselves. And that's hard. What? I got something I don't like about me? I've learned that I have plenty of things that I don't necessarily like about me. And our goal is to correct those things and grow out of those things. But then sometimes they come seeping back in. No, you shouldn't think like that. And to work to turn those thoughts around.
It says, he who made virtues what they are. So it says, he who made virtues what they are. So you're talking about Allah made virtues what they are. And he defined what they are. Planted in thee a knowledge of their preeminence. Okay? So it was predetermined that if you do this, it was predetermined that love will get you this. Truth will get you this. Freedom will get you this. And justice will get you that. All right? Those are the impregnable doctrines of the Moorish Temple of America. It says those could not be impregnated by anyone. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We were given those 5 principles because it said those couldn't be permeated. They can't poke a hole in them. Nobody can bother love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go to somebody and say, hey, I love you, give me a hug. And they say, nope, it's not right. They can't do it. Tell me the truth. No, I'm not going to give you the truth. You don't want it. Tell me the truth. No, I don't really want to tell you the truth. Okay. Then they're not living the principles. Freedom, free to act, free to be in accordance with the love that you was given at the first station. Truth is the second station. Peace. You've had love so long.
You're at peace.
Truth for a little while.
Good. I feel good.
Peace. Now that you at peace, now you free from all the bondage of yourself. And the lower self of them arguing back and forth. And then justice must then take its course.
That's your measure. That measure that's put there is that justice. You know, some people talk about karma. Karma is a double-edged sword. I choose not to use the word sword because it makes you think that it's something sharp, it's something that's sudden. But it's really not necessarily sudden. Karma is a double-edged sword because that measure of truth, that love that you give, comes back. So it's double because it comes back. So if what you're putting out isn't that good thing, it's not that thing that you want to receive back, then don't put it out there. And that's hard. It is. It's very hard. It's hard to change our mindset. We think, I don't want anything bad to happen to me. Y'all agree you don't want anything bad to happen to you? But that's not the correct mindset. The correct mindset is, I want good things to happen to me. Because if you put the bad out there in the atmosphere, you're just attracting more bad. So it's all about the mindset, the thoughts, and the way that we use them.
Karma. Everybody know what karma is? Somebody give me a hand. Tell me what karma is. What is karma? What is this word karma?
Goes around, comes around.
Goes around, comes around. Karma is even a little more than that. So if you get into some studies, look up the word. It's called karmic debt. It's actually stored in the ether. So you can see it and you whatever. And who in here saw the movie Black Panther? Anybody see it? Okay, when they put him in the ground and that thing scrolled across, They was reading this karmic debt. They didn't want to tell you that, but that's what that was. I'm gonna give you that. I want you to have that, so you know. So that's why he was showing his life, and it flashed, and they brought him up. They was showing that's his karmic debt. That's how it scrolls across your life like that. So everything you do is stored in the ether, stored in the ether plane. So when you act up in those things, that's what that comes back from. So that's what that scroll was. So some of you that saw it, go see it again and pay attention to that. That was very specific.
And every time you see it, you will see something new. Like, where'd that come from? What? I know about this. We just learned about this. We just talked about that. Amazing.
Yeah, that's good. Act as thy soul dictates to thee, and the end shall be always right. So the truth is but one. Thy doubts are of your own raising, so you rise your own doubts. All right. So act in accordance with the virtues. All right. Your principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And then it will always be right. All right. So our grand governor always talks about don't do things wrong because you're going to make that an option. Islam, if you're out there watching us. All right. So when you do things wrong, that gives you yet another option. But not only does it give you another option, it was one of those things of your own rising.
You chose it.
So you chose it to make it an option, and you spent time to reason it, and you didn't abide but the 5 principles, and you still did it. All right.
This is an option. I did this because of this, even though I know it was wrong. I couldn't help myself. Now it's always an option.
So Islam. So we dealt with Ramadan. We dealt with love for those that tuned in late. I got any questions about that?
We dealt with truth. Hold on. Hold on. Because you didn't ask me why I chose that one.
I knew it was going to go into a little bit longer. So.
No, because there's a reason that I chose that one. Because the truth is love.
It is but one?
There is nothing else. The truth is love. So I think we covered all 3 topics. But, you know, if you think.
You're never wrong. Don't ever argue with a Sheikess. Don't argue with a Sheikess. All right? And I can't really argue with the Sheikess because I worked with her and we saw something in her and she excelled to a high level. And everyone raised their hand and said, she should be a Sheikess.
I tried you. It was hard work trying to say no.
But Allah knows best, and we don't challenge Allah. So, as told to us according to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, we must oppose promptly according to the Circle 7.
Baby said it's time.
And love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So we're going to rise and face the east. We're going to send the Moors out. You got 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Repeat after me. Allah. The Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. One last prayer. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles. This we ask in thy holy name, in the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam, more.
Islam.
So I hope you got a little bit out of that.